So for this next step, we're going to talk about how to draw different types of forms. Now, just like shapes, there are geometric forms and organic forms. Now, we just made a series of geometric forms, right? A cylinder is a geometric form, and we know that it's a geometric form because it starts with the shape of a circle, right? A cube is also a geometric form because it starts with the shape of a square. So how do you draw forms that are not geometric? You know, for example, your hand, or you know, an apple, or you know, other organic you know, forms like trees and that kind of stuff. So what we're gonna do for this next one is find a space, and you're gonna take a vanishing point, and this time we're gonna put it either off to the left or the right, because I want to show you guys something. Depending on where your vanishing point is, right, is going to determine your perspective. A vanishing point we always find is on the horizon line in a landscape if we're drawing a realistic space. But when we're drawing just, you know, just to create three-dimensional forms, right, the vanishing point is going to indicate where you're looking or how you're going to look at the object. And depending on where the object is in relationship to the vanishing point, you might be looking at the right side of it, you might be looking at the left hand, or the left-hand side of it, or the right-hand side of it. You might be looking at the top edge of something, or even the bottom edge of something. So what I'm going to have you guys do for this one is go ahead and make kind of like a blobby type of form, and also let's make a cube. Please make sure that you're using a straight edge. Perspective is a logical method for creating the illusion of space, meaning that it is very mathematical. There are a series of steps that are involved that you have to follow, and if you don't do that, it tends to look really wonky. So when we're building stuff with perspective, please make sure that you're using a ruler. Now, we don't need a ruler for something that's organic because it has free-formed edges, but when we go to make it three-dimensional, right, we are going to need to use our vanishing points. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make this three-dimensional just like I did with our circle here, but it's a little bit different on a geometric form. I'm going to start with the square first. So when we look at the square, in order to make it three-dimensional, I know in the video that they made angles that were going back away from it, but this time what I'd like you guys to do is from the points of the square, draw lines back towards your vanishing point. Oh, let me go back to my darker pencil so you guys can see this a little bit more clearly. Alright, so now I have this kind of shooting cube that goes all the way back into the distance. If I want to make this look a little bit more like a cube, what I'm going to need to do is look between these orthogonal lines. Remember, orthogonal lines are the lines that give forms depth, and they meet at the vanishing point, right? See how all of these diagonal lines, or these orthogonal lines, see how they meet the vanishing point? Right, I'm going to look between them and then look at the front edge of my cube. If it is a vertical line, I know in order to make the back or side edge of it, it also needs to be a vertical line. If I look between the two lines and I see that the front edge that's touching the object is horizontal, I know that the back edge also needs to be horizontal. And then I'm going to erase those lines, right? These lines are always going to be parallel to one another. Okay, so fronts and backs of objects or sides, right? Make sure that they're parallel to one another. Now it gets a little tricky when we do organic forms, but the concept is the same. You're going to find the farthest edge, like we did in the circle, and we're going to go back towards the vanishing point. Right, and then even, I don't know, maybe in here somewhere. A good rule of thumb is if your ruler goes inside of an object, you don't need that line. Okay, so if you're drawing and your ruler cuts into the shape, so I'm gonna show you how to, I'm gonna go all the way around my object. So if your ruler cuts into the shape, like if I go to this farthest edge here towards my vanishing point and it cuts inside my shape, I don't need that line, especially if we're making a solid form. Okay, so and the other thing to remember too is if the vanishing point is to the left of the shape, you're going to see the right hand side of the object. So you're only going to see this side. You're not going to see this side over here. You couldn't, right? If you were standing here and you were and your eyes were looking this way and you looked up to the right, you would only see this right hand side or the left hand side of the object here. You wouldn't be able to kind of look around the edge. Our eyes don't work that way. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow these parallel lines. I'm going to kind of copy them and paste them. I'm going to go around here, copy and paste. So I'm pasting what I see. Maybe I might want to move that up a little bit. There we go. And then this part kind of curves between these two lines. Right, and they're connecting. Connect your shapes. And then this part's a little tricky, but it's going to be going up, right? Because this line goes up and then back down. So since this guy goes up, you don't really see it, how it connects to this part here, but it does connect. It's kind of behind that part. And then when I erase my form here, we're good. Okay, so on the other side, actually before we move on, I just want to talk about some shading tips. Make sure that you always determine where your light source is. Okay, so either draw a sun or something to indicate where the light is coming from. Light rays will only go in one direction, right? They don't kind of go every which way, right? They point towards the object, kind of like with our vanishing point. So if my sun is here, it's going to hit this side of the box. I then know that the farthest edge of the box, the edge that's farthest away from my sun, is over here. So this is the part that's going to be in shadow. So this is probably going to be one of the darkest edges. I also know that shadows will mimic the shape of the object. So if this is a square, you got to imagine you're laying it down flat in order to create a casted shadow. And I'm going to make that a little bit darker. Okay. I also know that even though this edge is not the farthest edge, it's still kind of out of view from my sun. So it's going to be a little bit darker than the other side. Okay. So it's a good idea to have at least 3 different shades on your object, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to separate the edges of your object. So if you leave one edge that's lighter, one edge that's kind of a little bit darker, then the next one is even darker, and then your shadow is the darkest area, it's going to create the illusion of a 3-dimensional form. So what I'd have you guys do is go ahead and make we call this a value scale, right? Remember that value is the degree of lightness or darkness of an object. So go ahead and make 9 spots. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. and make a value scale. Right, this one will be the darkest area. And a value scale just tells us all the different types of grays and shades that are from between black and white. White is our lightest, and then black is our darkest, and then there's all these different ranges of grays in between. So, you know, I'm going to make the next area a tiny bit darker, and I'm going to work my way up. And in each square, I'm going to get a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter until I get all the way to white. Okay, and you should be able to see a difference between each one as you get to white.